Hi, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm joined by my deadly duo partner. We're back. Francis, how are you?
We're all good, all good. Just recovering from Christmas. I feel like I've put on a few pounds, Stephen, but that means you're doing it right, isn't it?
100%. Food coma is what they call it, isn't it? I was
Yeah.
gone. I had a Christmas dinner. Francis piled up about this high with everything on it. It was
You've got to do,
smashing. Like
Stephen. I had the leftovers
exactly.
yesterday. I had the leftovers yesterday.
We bit of stuffing on the side. You can't beat it.
Ah, correct,
Unbelievable.
correct.
But how was your Christmas? What did you get up to?
Yeah, so just went up to my sister's for dinner. Obviously, just spent time with the family and that, Stephen, just as best we could and stuff. So, it was all in all, it was a really good day and stuff. What about yourself?
Pretty much the same, man. Just with family, just getting drunk, playing games, and that. Like that's what Christmas is
Ah,
about, isn't it? The family
correct.
spirit and the spirit
Yeah.
and alcohol. Do you know what I mean? So, but look, we'll crack on into the Celtic chat. That's what everyone is here to listen to. And we played St Johnstone yesterday. Now that was on Sunday. We recorded on Monday, so we went to Tuesday. And by all accounts, Franny, a game we needed to win. We needed to get 3 points from. It was vital. And obviously, as we always do, we summary the game. How did you feel about it?
Yeah, I thought it was actually a really good performance all in all when you see the starting line. Like, I just, bear with me, I've got to go because I seen a thing on Twitter earlier about it was 18 players that we had unavailable for selection.
Mhm.
And I'll just go through them. So we didn't have Hart, Bain, Hazard, Julian, Taylor, Urigide, Murray, Ralston, Turnbull, Jota, Johnston, Shaw, McGregor, Forrest, Dembele, Henderson, Giamakis, and Ayeti. So, we still actually managed to put out a pretty decent team, considering. I know I appreciate not all of them are going to start and things like that. It's registered first team players. So, when you look at how badly we were, like how bad the team is missing sort of players, it was actually good to turn in that type of performance. And guys like Abad, obviously Kyogo went off injured. We'll probably talk about that later and stuff. And then I thought I was impressed with Abad. I know me and yourself maybe gave him stick in the past, but we have tried to be fairly balanced with it and pick up on his numbers and things like that. And I thought he stood up and decided, well, I'm not saying he decided he's got to play through the middle, but he stepped up to the plate and played through the middle, got 2 good goals. The young boy Dawson that came on, I was fairly impressed with him. He kept it simple, held the ball up and stuff. He didn't try to be the hero, and I think that he just played his way through the game and managed it. And guys like yesterday, you needed Saturday, you need guys like your more senior players like your Beatons and your Rockets. And for me, like I said it in this chat as well, I wouldn't argue Beaton getting man of the match, but for me, you had to give it to Rockets, but they two and McCarthy. I thought the midfield three fully experienced, plenty of quality in the midfield three. McCarthy, as of yet, is still for me the jury's still out, but it's more because we're not seeing enough of him. I expected more, but I thought the midfield three absolutely strolled at control. Beaton was absolutely. It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Rockets just brilliant again. How he managed to play football in that part was unbelievable. Like I seen a thing on Twitter. It was like he could actually. Somebody said that he could actually control a ball in a bouncy castle, and it's so true, man. It's ridiculous. And again, it was brilliant yesterday. And I was impressed with Scales again. He looks confident enough. I thought pace wise he's not the best. I think he gets caught out a wee bit. His sharpness is not the best at times, but again, it was still a really good performance. We obviously had the wee sort of a setback with Starfelt's. We probably more lack of concentration. Could be down to obviously the minimum, like only the 500 fans. There's no real atmosphere. We were cruising, and obviously it's a good goal for a St Johnstone point of view. Our sort of a hero Barkas had no chance, but it was one of them. It just a lack of concentration in defence was the only damper on what was a really good performance, I thought, Stephen.
It was a final game, and I think your head's still in the mangle, Francis, because the game was Sunday, not Saturday, unless we're playing Christmas Day.
It's Christmas, isn't it? It's Christmas. It's what it does to you. It's
as you can tell, you on the tenants. You on that? Oh, some gear. But look, it was a game we needed to win, obviously, to bounce back from the disappointing draw up at St Mirren. And let's talk about Abada for the middle, because we have been critical of him, Francis. He hasn't really been taking the games. He's been playing up there, albeit many people still believe he's a winger, but he's adapted to the role of a striker. I thought he came deep a lot yesterday. He got the ball linked up to play really well, which is good to see. His 2 goals were different. I mean, the first one came in, he missed the shot. Keeper a brilliant save, went up in the air, and he won the header against 2 6 foot plus defenders. They had no right to win that.
Yeah.
And then the second one, he gets it from a lovely Rodriguez ball on the edge of the box and just crests it into the bottom left hand corner. Like, overall, his performance I thought was excellent, and obviously with the disappointment of Kyogo going off injured, but he fairly took that role into his own, didn't he?
Yeah, just like I said earlier, there, Stephen, he stepped up to the plate. Obviously, got told right, you to go through the middle. Like you said, the first goal was great determination. Obviously, it's a nice strike and like I said, a great save, but it was determined that it was getting that goal and jumped in between the two St Johnstone. I mean, Callum Davidson must be raising, like you say, 6 foot plus defenders, and there's a badder 5 foot nothing jumping in between the middle of them and scoring. That must absolutely ruin you as a manager. You must be bailing at that, absolutely fizzing. And like you say, it was nice. The second goal, nice we play at the edge of the box, and Rogic just doing Rogic stuff with a nice pass, and it was a striker sort of finish. And I know I've said for ages he's a winger. Look at his numbers out wide, but
I think as well, Francis, you called a certain comment out, and now you're kind of made eat your words, aren't you?
A wee bit. I've got to say that because I think he's now got about 3 goals in his last 3 games he's playing as a striker. So that's why I do a podcast and I'm not in the dugout.
Well, here's a simple thing: is he a striker or a winger? What do you think?
I would say he's a winger. I mean, he's apart from obviously in recent weeks, he's played out wide and his numbers out wide were brilliant. So. And he was signed as a winger. He was all the videos you sort of seen. He was playing out wide. Yeah, some of them would have been in the middle, but you don't know where he started the game in that, like some of the YouTube clubs. But everybody said he was a winger. He was not brought in as a striker. He never once, even in pre-season, he never once played as a striker. So I don't see him in anything but a winger. But it's positive that it does look like he can play through the middle. It keeps how we like to play because obviously he's fast and sharp, and like you said there, he was dropping in and linking up the play well, which drags the centre halves into positions they didn't want to be to then open the space up and behind for him to run in. So I see him as a striker, but he's been pretty decent I see him as a wide player, sorry, but he's been pretty decent as a striker in the last couple of games.
Seen him as a striker, did he?
after me saying how ridiculous that was.
But I think it's a case of needs must, isn't it? Really, because we'll have no one else. I mean, Joey Dawson, as you said, he came on, he played well. He reminded me of like an old type centre forward. He just liked the play, took the ball, back to goal, held it up well. I thought he was actually fantastic for his debut. But before we get on to him, I want to touch upon Beaton, the captain of the day. Cal McGregor was missing. When I seen the lineup, I didn't even realize. Obviously, there was rumours of all COVID issues, but you don't obviously know until the lineup comes out, and I was like, oh no.
But kind of feeling the worst a wee bit.
I thought Beaton was absolutely immense yesterday. I really thought he stood up. He gave this kind of presence. Yes, he has it, but without McGregor in the team, he had to be that focal point of the team as the captain. And for me, he done the simple things well. He took the goal on the edge of the box, a tidy finish, albeit he was trying shots from all angles at points of that game, free kicks as well. But he's like one of these players that Postecoglou just took, re-energized and refocused, much like he's done with Tom Rodgers, because he was meant to be out the door last season going to Qatar. Beaton, we all didn't really, let's be honest, care if he left the club at the beginning of the season, but now he just seems like an important member of the team, doesn't he?
Oh, very much. Like I said earlier, it was on players like him, Rogic and McCarthy to step up, considering who were missing yesterday. They needed the senior players to actually be stood up and be counted for. And like in the past, Beaton, I mean in the last sort of and this season, he's not really started games well. It's kind of going to the end of the half, and in the second half, he's progressed into the game and stuff. But yesterday, just from kickoff, it was absolutely brilliant. And like his range of passing is, as we know, is really good. And when you've got I'm not trying to say he's a better passer than McGregor, because McGregor's a better passer, but like when you've got him sitting in that 6, it's good to have that range of passing in the 6. Although I think he probably played more of the 8 role, so he was getting ahead of the play and stuff. So and getting that chance to get the shots off, some of them not so good. Then the goal. I mean, his goal was a really nice strike. It's no right to put it in that near post, but it was as clean as a strike you'll see, and a really good goal. And it was a goal the guy deserved. But I was really, really impressed with him. Like say, him, Ralston, and Rogic have just they've really, like, you've got to credit the three boys. Like, say Beaton was probably, I've not seen he was out the door, but they say, well, we're not first if he was out the door. A lot of us in a wee bit probably weren't first if Rodgers was out the door at the end of this, when the rumours of him going to Qatar were getting muted. Ralston would have never thought he was going to be such a focal point in the team and important. So you've got to kind of credit these three players to say they've taken their chance. It's Postecoglou, like, all managers give it the sort of cliche statement, don't they, where it's like, oh, it's a clean slate for everybody, it's a clean slate, but it probably is a clean slate to an extent, but managers will know that some of these players haven't been performing for the previous managers. There's a reason.
Yep.
A lot of the times, there's a reason the previous manager's not there, is because players haven't been performing. So they'll be coming in going, well, how can I trust these players that haven't been performing? But yeah, I think you've got to credit they three guys especially, and then Beaton just for really, I wouldn't say it's last chance. It was a last chance saloon for them. Maybe Beaton and Ralston it was at sort of a last chance, and they've really just they've been brilliant. And Beaton yesterday, I thought it's one of his best games I've seen in a long time from him.
Yeah, a captain role is vital. Yeah. He stood up and he definitely did. One thing was interesting as well, Francis. It's the first time yesterday we've seen Postecoglou change his formation. He went 3-5-2, which I thought actually was quite interesting when I was watching the game and the setup, and I thought it suited the team well. We've obviously seen Celtic before playing on the back three, but they just seem more comfortable yesterday, and I think the players who did come in, you mentioned James McCarthy, will come on to him. It's still a deal that I don't understand. It really isn't. This 4-year deal for a player who's injury prone, spent most of the last years at Everton on the treatment table. He's came to us, probably no doubt in a big wage, but I did think, to be fair, yesterday, Hidewell, he did the simple things. That's a phrase everyone knows about, but you know what I mean. Side to side, keeping the ball, giving it to the players who could do stuff with it. The only concern I have watching him, he's slow as chips. He cannot run. Every time a player got a run on him, he went past. But what's your opinion on this whole McCarthy thing? Because he is well down the pecking order when you look at the actual squad list where he comes into it. Like,
it's mad, because if, like, on one hand we're saying we're desperate for squad depth, and then another thing, you look at it, James McCarthy, if you take away all the sort of the injury side and that, if you try not include that, which obviously it's a legit argument when you consider how much he's played recently due to injuries, but if you look at, we're saying our squad depth isn't the best, but then James McCarthy's is a new signing this season, is down the pecking order up, that you would kind of take that all day long on, because James McCarthy is a really good football player. There's no getting away from that. He's an absolute fantastic football player.
Well,
but I think he's a really, really good football player. Really good football player.
It's a pity we've got him at the stage of the career where he can't run. He can pass it, like, but he can't do nothing else.
It was never a box-to-box midfielder. No. It was always, at Hamilton he got forward a wee bit more, but it was probably more the style Hamilton played and things like that. But the 4-year contract, I don't get. Maybe a 2-year would have been a lot better. But also, I think players of that ilk can be important if you keep them fit. Because yesterday, again, I thought he reminded me a wee bit of what Neil Lennon would do. He would just break up play and pass it to somebody else. Just let them do it, then take it off the defenders, maybe get straight back to the defender. He was always making himself available. He was getting stuck in and stuff. And I thought it was a really good performance from him. I felt like he never really, well, I was going to say never done anything fantastic, but he broke up the play that led to the first goal. But it was like he never seemed to do anything that really you stood up and went, oh my God, that was amazing. But also he didn't have a bad game. I thought he was really impressive. He has got a good range of passing as well. He showed it in a wee bits and bobs yesterday. But I was really impressed with him. Like, I was happy when we signed James McCarthy. I knew if we could get him fit, we've got a really good player in our hands. 4-year contract, that could be questioned, because, like you say, it will be on big money, and it's a big gamble. I don't believe it was ever a Postecoglou saying there's no chance James McCarthy's a Postecoglou type player. But saying that, if you can have a fit James McCarthy to rely on, I think you've got a really good player in your hands.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt in his quality. Let's be honest. He can pass it. He's good at breaking up the play. But obviously the concern is his pace for me. But just watching him run, Francis, is like, unless he's in the correct position at all times.
Like the players like that have got intelligence that they know where to position themselves. Like Look at John Terry. John Terry was never the fastest, but arguably one of the best defenders or whatever in the Premier League. He was never fit. He just knew where to position himself. So you don't necessarily need to be fast.
No, I totally get what you mean. Obviously, I hope he does carry on and stays fit and stays part of the team because we will need him. Do you know what I mean? The squad's already gone enough, and obviously we conceded a goal as well. And I think I got the score prediction right in the last podcast.
You did, I said
eventually
somebody got it right.
The first one got it right. 3-1. I remember going, I could Celtic are still conceding goals, and Ross was like, "What are you talking about? There you go, Ross. Put that in your pipe and smoke it." 3-1's come up for me, but I mean, the cross and the header from Chris Kane, all in all, was a cracking header, a good goal. But what do you make of this criticism that Starfelt's receiving lately? I mean, the last game he got a bit of criticism. This game as well. It seems to be. Is he dipping in confidence? He's definitely took a downturn in form, but let's not hope it carries on. Do you think it's a case of Welsh coming in for him, or
potentially, but more? I don't know. Like Welsh, to be fair, never really lets us down, but I don't know if I would maybe do it. Like again, Starfelt in the main has never let us down, but Ross he's got that mistake in him. Yes, and then yesterday he had the mistake that cost the goal, and it was so good. Like the pass was so poor. It was a poor pass. It wasn't even if it had the pace, it wasn't going to Rogic. And then he was obviously out of position. He didn't know where to go back into sort of a central defence or try and cut the cross out. And it didn't really show for me enough desire to do either or. I felt he was trying to do the right thing by trying to stop the cross coming in. Because it didn't really go with any real desire, it gave the St Johnstone boy plenty of time to get there. Again, Scales, I don't know where he was actually positioned at the time, but obviously we're trying to come out, so he's probably up further up the park. So he didn't really come in and cover Starfelt very well. But again, he's probably expecting Starfelt to make that easy 10-yard pass out to Rogic, so he's not expecting to get to the park. And it was just that it was a free header for him. I've not seen a lot of the criticism of Starfelt. I've heard some of it is absolutely ridiculous. Like
I've seen some people saying that he's a bomb scorer. He's never played for Celtic again. He's atrocious, that type of thing. But these are the same people who were praising him for his run of form.
I wouldn't go that far. As what I will say, he's starting to make me feel a wee bit nervous again in him. Like recently, you couldn't fault the guy. He was brilliant. I think he's more an instinctive defender when he's got things to think about. I don't think that's his strong point.
No,
I think he's better just proper defending when it's just got to clear his lines, make the tackle, win the headers. He's pretty good at it. But I think it could serve him well, maybe bringing Welsh in, even if it's just for a game, just to give him a wee, just to say to him, look, well, I know we signed you for big money, but we're going to have to go with Academy boy. Because we can't, not that we can't trust you, but it's kind of saying, look, you need to get your finger out, so to speak.
Well, he's done that with the likes of Turnbull and Rodgers before. He's took them out and put Beaton and McGregor up one and left one them out. It's all about obviously keeping them on their toes, and that's not me advocating Starfelt drops out because of two maybe dodgy performances. We all know, like, for the transfer fees Celtic sign players for, they're not going to be the finished article, and there's going to be a mistake in them. And Starfelt proved that at the start of the season. William on the podcast was very vocal about that. Same with me. I was vocal about that, but obviously the only one defending him was John. He came good and he's played very well. But just at the moment, I'm thinking, is it right to take him out? But then you got to go back to the squad depth. I might need Welsh in another position, right back, or do you know what I mean? So you don't really know at the minute. It's just, I hope it doesn't continue because I thought.
Oh no, go on.
I was going to say, I hope it doesn't continue, but I thought recently him and Carter Vickers were forming a really solid partnership.
Yeah, that's what's kind of got to say. Like, as much as we're saying, maybe we could bring him out to sort of give him that wee warning. In the main, it's been him and Carter Vickers at centre half, and as it stands, we've still got the best defensive record in the league. So it almost feels weird, complete. But there's nothing wrong with calling out a poor performance or a bad mistake. It's you just try to strive for perfection. You'll never get perfection, but there's nothing wrong for wanting to try and strive for it.
What? And another thing missing on the team sheet was our man. Barcast was him.
I know.
That was it. That was a big shock, wasn't it? That was a big. I seen that, and then obviously Scott Baines with the COVID thing. I know the wee academy goalkeeper Owolumu. I think he's an English guy, 17. He was been called up the European squads. I did not expect Franny to see Barkas in a Celtic shirt again, but I seen a tweet. It was like something along the lines of all these famous people on Christmas Day, blah blah blah, and they go, I can be alive to say I seen Barkas catch 2 cross balls at McDermott Park. Do you know what I mean? He's like a priority now, like of a goalkeeper, isn't he? But is it the case of, I know Barkas isn't going to get a sniff in, and all depends of injuries and stuff. And I heard Joe Hart's injured, so that's a concern. I don't want that to be for a long period of time. But Barkas, Franny, what was said about him again? Because he's just been thrust back in. How do you think he did? Or did he do anything well for you apart from catching the ball twice?
Well, the 2 crosses were like, they were good. He claimed it well. They were routine. So the ones what you would expect a keeper was playing with a club like Celtic to make. Yeah, the box was a wee bit congested when they done it. So it was good to see. It will obviously give him confidence. But I can remember at one point he had a wee dodgy touch and a dodgy pass just out, and you're like, and then obviously there's nothing they can do about the goal. It's a really good goal, so we'll not even talk about that. But there was a couple of moments then, I don't know if you noticed the bit, it was in the first half where Stephen Welsh, it's a ball over the top and Stephen Welsh is running back to the box. I wouldn't say it's the easy thing was to hit the ball out for a shy what he'd done. There was the possibility that he could have played it back to Barkas, and I think a couple of players have had a go at him, and you just see him going, I'm not fucking passing it back there.
Yeah. So, I've seen that.
Like, there's obviously still trust issues within the first team. I don't know how long Hart's out for. Obviously, we've got the 3-week break, so you have got time to come back in. Baines is obviously a COVID thing, so you'd expect him to be ready, at least. Not that I'm saying I trust Bain over Barkas. I probably do trust Bain over Barkas. I know he was were his biggest fan, Barkas, but I probably would trust Bain over Barkas.
But can't believe you said that.
No, Stephen, I've just sold myself in the dream. I've just poor Barkas. It's true, and it's one of the things. The worrying thing for me is the Hart one, because we don't really know what he's out because of.
Yeah,
and that's what's concerning. Obviously, we've got the 3 weeks, but yes, it's just all these. Hopefully, just everybody just gets sent away, and we'll not have to deal with COVID and things like that. Because it's ravaging every team in Scottish UK football, apart from one. In fact, by the way, that one should actually be getting on the phone to Boris Johnson and that, and they'll actually be able to sort out COVID in no time. The only team that doesn't catch it.
If rumours suggest there are testing companies based over in Belfast in a particular place, but I'm not going to get into that in the podcast. But I mean, the way I'm looking at it is, it's so bad that we're wishing these 3 weeks go by with Joe Hart back and Scott Bain back as number 2 just for podcast. Like, me and you did advocate for him. I have to admit that. I do. It's just a fall from grace I've never seen before. Greek number 1 playing football for AEK Athens in the Champions League football, winning Greek championships, and he just comes to us and totally crumbles. Now, partly for me, I'm still cynical, and I blame the previous management regime in that. But look, one of the negative things obviously was conceding the goal from the Chris Kane header. Another negative issue we need to touch upon: Kyogo starting the game, he lasts 12 minutes, Francis. Now, this was quite a heated thing in our podcast chat yesterday, because I thought if he wasn't fit to start, he shouldn't have played. Or if he was, do you know what I mean? I know players can go, look, throw me in, boss, I can do this for you, I can do a job. But there must come a point where you go, no, look, hold on a wee second, I can do this. We've got Joey Dawson, who was always going to come onto the pitch from my point of view, because I don't think Kyogo would have lasted the 90.
Nah, it was not.
You could have switched that, done Joey Dawson the 70 minutes, brought Kyogo on for the last 20. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but when that happened and I seen him break down again, just going for that same hamstring, it's just a worry for me. This is going to be a recurring issue. We'll have him back for 4 weeks. He goes out again. For another 4 weeks, he's out again. And I do not want us to go down that road.
Well, I think the St Mirren games determined Kyogo starting, because if we beat St Mirren, I think Kyogo would have probably just been on the bench and no more. And like I said, Joey Dawson would have probably started. But the fact that we dropped points at St Mirren, I feel Postecoglou was kind of put in a corner because he had to. I think Kyogo was only ever going to play one of the 2 games, and I think he thought, if it, like Ross said, he would be able to get through the St Mirren game because they were decimated a bit with COVID issues as well. So I think the gamble was always to play him in the St Johnstone game, even though he wasn't going to be fully fit. But probably just, I think in the ideal situation, he was going to start on the bench because we dropped points, we couldn't. So it was one of the ones where, like you said, he's probably went to Kyle going, how fit are you? And he'll probably, it's just like most football players, I'm fine. I'll be able to play. Your medical team are like going, there's absolutely no chance. There's no chance he's playing. And the manager's sitting there going, I've just dropped points the other day. I can't afford to do it again. The player himself saying he's fit. I mean, the players themselves know their body better than others. Obviously, it's one of the ones. I feel like Postecoglou was damned if he did, damned if he didn't. It was if he didn't start, like William said, if he didn't start and we dropped points again, folk are going to be going, well, why didn't they play again? Why starting him on the bench? It was just, I think, because of the 3-week break coming up, it was a calculated risk. Then Postecoglou's obviously said after it that he'll be fine for after it. Time will tell. I'll be fine after it. Yeah. Obviously, Giakoumakis, you would hope would be coming back in. Whatever business, obviously we've got to touch it on that. There'll be business we'll do in the January window that could help you not having to rush Kyogo back. So for me, it was probably worth the gamble, just knowing that he was never going to last, and potentially the only injury he was going to get was the hamstring again. So you knew, well, he'll maybe just miss he'll maybe miss a week or 2 when we come back, which is not great, but it was one of the ones I thought a lot it was based on obviously dropping points at St Mirren, and he just thought, I can't afford to take him out again.
But obviously I get all that. Obviously external circumstances, you're looking to the future. Obviously the transfer is meant to be coming in. Well rumoured today that Maeda was in London for a medical, but it hasn't been announced yet. So, but looking at it just from now and from my point of view, do you not think it's risking his long-term fitness by playing him not needless games, because every game we need to win, but there's no question. But if there's an alternative plan, the likes of Dawson, the start up front with Fabana in that game, albeit no first time experience, but he is scoring for the B team, so he probably has confidence within himself to do a job. And then kind of flip it to keep Kyogo on the bench for the last 15 minutes. I just thought if he only lasted 13 minutes, surely the medical team should have said to Postecoglou, look, this is a risk you're running. If it happens, it's another tear or another hamstring pull. And it's just, for me, not a bad management call, but it's like, why risk it? Do you know what I'm trying to get at? Why risk our best player just for a game at McDermott Park? They're bottom of the league. We should be confident winning regardless who's up front. And then I look at the situation we find ourselves in with Kyogo potentially out for, 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring tear. So you don't the risk of the player outweighs that for me. You need to keep the best player fit as possible. Like,
I do get that, but then you can also flip that and say your best player needs to play. If your best player's incidentally wasn't fit. I mean, the manager come out and admitted he wasn't fit. So I just think we had no real other strikers to call on. Yeah, you could say the young laddie Dawson, but I don't think it's fair trying to bring a 17-year-old lad in to do that. Like, I know St Johnstone are rock bottom, they're not playing good, but neither was St Mirren, and we never done it. Like, we never managed to break them down. So I just go back. I just think it was a calculated risk, and we'll know if it's paid off come the 17th of January when we're back playing football, and if Kyogo's in the first team squad. If Kyogo's in the first team squad, then it's a risk that's been worth taking. If it's not, if he's not, and the manager's like, oh well, it's touch and go for the Derby game, then you're sitting going, well, was it worth it? And then potentially saying, well, it wasn't worth it. Then it's once we know the extent of the injury, it's kind of one of the ones you're sitting got to go, well, it was worth it. But I totally get what you're saying, how it can be deemed as bad man. You could argue it's well, you can't. It's not that you can't. You can say confidently that it is putting the player at risk. We know he's not fit. He knows it's a hamstring injury, that why he's not 100% fit. there's obviously muscle injuries and certain pain things that you could play through. There's obviously injections, but hamstrings, you can't really. There's nothing really you can do for them to get you through a match. So, yeah, I do understand what you're saying there, Stephen. Where it is potentially putting our best player at risk for a long-term injury, but it's surely obviously between the manager, the player, and the medical staff, they've said, like, this is what you're going to get. It's not going to be. It's not going to put the hamstring's not in a great condition, and now it's not the worst it's got to do is 2-3 weeks. That's all I can hope for right now. I think, like I said, on the 17th of January when we're back, I think that will determine whether it was a risk or not.
Yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from too. I was just, for me, I react all the time. You've seen me fall for things that I shouldn't fall for. It's just part of my personality. So I mean, when I see something so blatant that you kind of knew what was going to happen during the game, you're always hoping he doesn't pull up. But then it happens, and you're like, oh, and the same hamstring as well. And it's just unfortunate. But I do get what you're saying. He's damned if he does, and he's damned if he doesn't. With fans that have different opinions of it, me myself, I just think if he wasn't fit enough to start again, don't start him. Do the game plan and then bring him on as an impact player. So I mean, obviously it's not as simple as that. Cow was our best player this season, back country man. So it's a catch-22 situation. But before we move on from the game itself, I mean, one of the talking points again I've seen online is that the state of that pitch at the McDermott Park. There's literally better parks out the back. Do you know what I mean? It's absolutely insane that was on TV. That's an advert for Scottish football, and this is what pisses me off, because people look at that sort of thing from down south for a further field and go, that's why Scottish football is shite. That's why the standard's not good. And I don't blame him, because that pitch for me was an absolute disgrace for professional players to play on. It's when I seen that come up when they're doing their training, I was like, are you serious? It was almost as bad. Do you remember when Fir Park had the sand in it? Because it was shocking. What did you think when you seen that?
But like you say, it's along with that pitch and Chris Boyd constantly being punted in front of the cameras for Scottish Football Sky. It's embarrassing for Scottish football, him and that pitch. It was unreal. Like you say, it's a professional football. I know the Scottish game's not dripping with money. The teams have not got great money, but surely they've got enough money and enough resources that they can get a pitch to last like up until Christmas. I know the weather's not great, but it's not really been snowing now. I stay about an hour away from Perth, and it's slightly higher up and sort of above Sleep, but where I stay in West Lothian, you're either snowed in or snowed out. It's been pretty cold recently, I'll admit that, but it's not really snowed. I don't know any reason why that pitch was in such a bad condition. Because, like you say, Firth Park, which I'm closer to, was predominantly known for being horrendous pretty much all season round.
Yeah,
and that's nearly every pitch in Scotland is in great condition. Like St Mirren's pitch was brilliant the other night.
It was.
I don't know. Does maybe St Johnstone actually train on that pitch as well, which that shouldn't really be happening. If they are, I don't see why. There's surely a public park that they can at least train on. But if your staff can't keep your pitch in a half decent condition, then be training on it Monday to Friday as well. It was an absolute embarrassment to be shoved in front of the cameras saying, "Oh, well, here's our big game for the weekend. This is our premium sort of fixture, if you like, that Sky's picked," and you get that absolute shock in a pitch.
And then Colin Davis is on the swing set, blowing the whistle when they're training at the local park. You madman! Nah, but I totally.
I mean, I don't mean a swing park. I mean, like, there's obviously public football parks about. Come on, Steve.
I know
It's Christmas, but didn't be silly.
I totally get what you're saying. I mean, advert for Scottish football, that definitely wasn't. And another factor in the game was the 500 capacity limit. But refreshing as always, Francis. Some Celtic fans turned up, and you could hear them throughout the game singing and chanting, albeit it was probably like 30 or 40 of them, but they did make themselves heard at the corner forest bit where you could see over into the pitch. And there was shite headlines and major newspapers saying Celtic fans tried to storm McDermott Park and had confrontations with the police, but obviously John Paul Taylor, the Celtic SLO, came out and said that's a load of nonsense. Just narrative after narrative of shite against Celtic fans, as we always see. But again, that shows you football without fans is absolutely nothing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it was just that. Like, I just hope, and pray, like after this 3-week sort of break, I don't think we'll be back to full capacity, but we're giving ourselves our best chance to get to that stage. I think it'll be more a sort of a percentage type thing, which see if you can get maybe 10 to 15,000 in at Parkhead and things like that. Like, enough to create an atmosphere. 500's no good. Like 500 fans at Parkhead is not even 1% of the capacity. It's mental. And then like teams like probably like Greenock Morton will get like 5%, and it's probably about 20% of their capacity. So just be a wee bit more proportional. But yeah, just I so hope that this doesn't prolong for another sort of 6-7 weeks and stuff like that. Just even if in an ideal situation, obviously, when we get back after the winter break, it's full capacity again. That's the ideal situation. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But surely we can't continue to wait 500. There's got to be some sort of way we can proportionalise it and get percentage of fans. Because I've seen like Aberdeen had said that it cost them roughly 500,000 to host a game with 500 fans.
Yeah.
And then Motherwell are 750,000. Their CEO reckoned it cost them. They actually said that they wouldn't rather have it as closed doors, but it would benefit them better because it wouldn't cost as much because they don't need to put police and stewarding and all that on.
Yeah.
So like outside Celtic and Rangers, like teams in Scotland can't really be spending that sort of money to host a football match. So just a wee bit of common sense. I mean, when Jason Leitch is coming out and saying that the 500 is just a figure he's plucked out, they've essentially plucked out there and backed it without science. You've surely got to then go, right, well, can we get full capacity? No, right. Well, we need to be logical about this. What can we do? So yeah, but it was an eerie atmosphere, and I don't like it. And once again, our manager just put the reporters in their place when they thought he had a wee agenda and stuff.
Well, that's very true. That's very true. I think his comments after the game was spectacular. Again, he backs the club, backs the team, and anyone who suggests that Celtic wanted this break to benefit themselves is totally far off the mark. If, as he said, if you're watching that game as a neutral, or even as a supporter, and you're enjoying silence during the game, baffling. And I genuinely thought as well, like the fact that mainstream media companies are trying to paint the narrative that there was trouble, there was confrontations. I don't understand this, because you could clearly see by the footage they're in literally beside a tree. Do you know what I mean? There was some fella hanging on the tree. There was someone else hanging on the tree. Like, what do you want them to do? They were there trying to voice the support. They couldn't get in the stadium, and I think that's perfectly fine. If I give my views, Francis, on what I think of this situation, I'd probably be hanged out to dry. You know what I mean? It's baffling.
I think it's embarrassing that, again, nobody within Celtic, like obviously Postecoglou backers, but I mean, higher up in the boardroom, it's absolutely embarrassing again that none of them have came out and defended the club once again when the mainstream media are having a pop at us. Like, they should really be going after them, saying, look, this is false accusations. Like, it was not so long ago. It's like, it's weird because every time we were winning, we would always go after the media. Always go after them when they reported it. Like, I can remember the Morelos interview that he done for Sky. Sky interpreted it wrong, said that he got racially abused at Parkhead and that, and it was just total misinterpreted the football. And Celtic went straight after it. The video was down after about 2 hours of getting released, and now it's taken like other folk out with the club to actually defend it. Like, I'd seen a comment that St Johnstone fans were actually sitting with this, like standing with the Celtic fans. Don't know how true that was, but apparently there was like zero trouble. The police obviously had a wee word just to say, obviously the police can't not say anything. They probably just went up and we got to get, hopefully we'll not have any trouble. But there clearly was no trouble though. Do you know for sure the cameras didn't have much to look at in the stands, so they would have, if there was any sign of trouble, they'd have been round there. As I say, I've read things online that even St Johnstone fans had turned up to that hill and they all had a bit of banter between them and that. So it's madness.
there was one guy that went into St Johnstone pub and bought them all pints, and I think that's fantastic. But that's great. The whole narrative about this is mental. The fact that you have to come out and defend the club from literally nothing, like the supporter liaison officer. Do you know what I mean? It's a made up story to sell papers. It's craziness, like it really is. And you look at this break brought forward for the obvious reasons. I think every member club in the SPFL voted for it, apart from Dundee and Rangers. I think it was
Ross County.
Oh, Ross County. That's because Ross County probably get 500 fans anyway. But you look at it, you do look at this, and it's logical because you want to give the supporter every chance to get in the stadium. You want to give clubs a chance to put their protocols back in place, do them all over again. Because every club, apart from one, as you said, are ravaged by COVID issues. So let's try and eradicate that, or else you're going to be playing with literally under 19 teams at some points in the SPFL season, which isn't good enough. And I thought Postecoglou summed it up well, Francis, in that after-match press conference to Sky Sports, when they try to kind of say, well, this benefits Celtic. It's like, get your head out of the sand. Just get your head out of the sand. What way would this benefit Celtic? Yes, we've got injury issues, blah, blah, blah. But a supporter who's pumped money into a club year in, year out deserves a chance at least to get into the stadium and see the team they love. And the fact that people are trying to peddle this to benefit Celtic, it's scandalous, isn't it?
It's almost like it was Celtic voted for it and everybody voted against it, and the SPL went, all right, at Celtic have said it was a majority. It went to a vote, and now that Rangers actually voted for it against it, and then I've just called off their B team game because they want fans in the gate. They want fans in the stadium. It's like, what argument is it then? You didn't want fans in the game, or you do? What? Like, honestly, like, to a wee bit of me understands Ross County to the extent that they kind of went on a good run, so they just kind of want to kick on and keep going, because teams like Ross County, points are vital, so they know when they're on a wee run, like a wee six points or whatever they potentially could have picked up, but they may not pick up now, could be the difference between them staying in the league and not. So to an extent, I understand a wee bit of Ross County saying, let's do it. And like you said, they probably didn't get a lot of fans anyway. So, and leading up to the winter break, they might have actually had 2 away games. So I don't know what their fixture was. It potentially wasn't even affecting them home game wise. They maybe thought, I don't know if it's got a home game, so we're playing all right. 2 away games, potentially could pick up 6 points, and then that could be the difference between them staying in the league or not. But it's why you don't want to give fans the best possible chance to get into a football match. I just don't get it. Like, we're desperate to go and see football, keep football going. We certainly don't want football to stop and not finish. Bringing this winter break forward is close to the sort of a circuit breaker type thing that has been brought in. Just for me makes total sense, and just to try and have as least impact as we can on the fan, the paying. I hate using the paying customer, but they're essentially a customer. But just give the fans a chance to be in games. That's all we're trying to do here. It's all we're trying to do. But they made in certain news outlets, certain pundits will spin a different narrative and call it sport integrity, etc., etc. But it is what it is.
I think clearly in this situation, it's the right thing to do. I mean, I find it absolutely mental how Jason Leach basically admitted that he kind of, as you said, plucked that number with no science behind it. Went 500 for every stadium in Scotland. It's mental. And then a senior man come out. I know he's called John. Is it John Sweeney or Swiley or something? He came out and basically tried to link a super spreader event to the League Cup final there 2 days after it, with no evidence again to back that up.
But it seemed to forget a game that was on in Glasgow the day before.
Exactly, but it's mental how things are portrayed, isn't it? It just shows you sometimes what you're up against. But looking ahead to the January transfer window, which will be a vital month for Celtic. Obviously, what the rumours today was Maeda, the striker from Postecoglou's old team in Japan, he was in London for a medical. Obviously not been updated by the club, but that everyone's kind of gathered pace in that. Uraguchi has kind of calmed down a wee bit. The centre midfielder has been no kind of hanging around him. Is it Hatabe? Hatabe rumour still going strong. Hatate. There we go. But looking at it, do you think we're trying to get all the eggs in a row here and then just get them at once?
Well, like what you guys were talking about on Thursday, like it's good that we get business done early, but if it's these three guys and nothing else, I don't think that's a good January transfer window. I think we need more, especially as I believe will Barkas go. I think a lot of that will depend on what Hart's injury is, because it wouldn't be fair. Like obviously we'd assume Bain would be coming in. I don't know if Hazard's a COVID issue or he's injured. Then it wouldn't be fair to be sitting with the young 17-year-old as your number two. Ball and goalie, I think, regardless of what business you do, I think you'll get away with him going because he's a way down the pecking order again. So I think if you can,
he gets paid for free.
Yeah, I think if you can move him on. As I say, if Hart's not serious, then just cut your ties with Barkas. It's him and Ball and Goal are probably two big earners. But after that, I'm in agreement with what you lot were saying in Thursday. It's just we need to get more in before we let folk go. Ayeti, I would have probably said could go, but his injury's probably ruling him out in it. And so I think we need to do more biz. I think obviously with the three Japanese boys, I did hear in sort of a super scoreboard today that apparently the work permit issues are dealt with. So I think the Eddie Gucci, I think that deal's still happening. But it's just kind of went a wee bit quiet. And like I've also heard that Maeda's meant to be in London and Hatate and the other boys might be coming in tomorrow. So I don't know what sort of if there's any quarantine. I'm assuming there will be some sort of quarantine things. And then the good thing, obviously Postecoglou will know all these three players, but he'll obviously know Maeda, sorry, what they signed him for.
I thought you said Maeda.
I said Maidana. He's a boxer. Maeda, it's like obviously Postecoglou signed him, so he'll know that he'll not really need to work it. He'll just need to integrate him with the squad. So I think the good thing is it's with him and it's players he knows, so he'll just need to integrate them. But I hope we do other business. I think maybe we need to probably. I don't necessarily like the loan market, but it might not be a bad idea just to. January is a hard time to do business. I agree with Ross. It's a hard market. Celtic have never really done, but obviously you've had like Robbie Keane and Craig Bellamy coming in on loan deals sort of in the last day, but you might need to do. I'm not saying you'll sort of bring in that sort of a marquee type signing, but you could maybe even look at the domestic market. The Lewis Ferguson rumours keeps cropping up. I know at one point I was backing it up, but I don't really see the benefits of Lewis Ferguson coming up apart from weakening Aberdeen, essentially. It probably, domestically, probably could do a job if the fee wasn't stupid. Like, if you were maybe picking him up for $1 million, $1.5 million, it's maybe worth doing. But I would be looking for these, obviously. I think the three Japanese boys, if they come in, I think they'll come in early just simply because the league finishes, timing helps it. There's probably work going on in the background to get these done early. Then I think any business after that, I would like to get another 2 or 3 in and then maybe try and move some guys on. But if you're moving these guys on, like maybe bring in a couple of loan boys just to cover them, because we are trying to build a squad. I'm not wanting to just buy boys because we want to sell somebody. I want to bulk and beef up the squad. Obviously, we want to do it with quality. So I would try maybe a couple, a centre half, maybe, just because we just don't know what the deal is with Julian. Don't know when he's coming back, but it's maybe something, maybe even just a loan deal at centre half, and then
Shane Duffy.
Well, he's actually doing all right at Brighton, so who knows? Probably wouldn't be the worst idea. But I probably in the Maeda could be beneficial because he seems to be the type that can play anywhere across the front line, and I would like another strike. I'm definitely not writing Giakoumakis off, but I don't see us bringing in another striker of that ilk because I don't think the manager will be allowed that. But I think we need maybe 2 or 3 on top of the 3 Japanese boys if they come in. Obviously, in various positions, potentially a left back, because this Hatate seems to be more a midfielder or stuff. So if we get a left back in, great. If not, I don't think it's the world's worst. So if we're doing 6 players, I think that would be an absolute fantastic window, providing nobody really leaves, apart from obviously I think you'll get away with getting rid of Barkas and Bolingoli regardless of what business you do, because we're fairly okay in the positions, to be fair.
Well, I think that what makes it worse as well, the news today that Turnbull might be out for up to 2 months. So there has to be consideration for that. So you're potentially looking at another midfield player added on to Irikichi
a number
and
10,
Hatate. Yeah, number 10 type creative player. I think the most acceptable ratio would be 6 in, 2 out, that type of thing. But in reality, you're probably going to get 4 at a push and then 3 out, and then it'll be kind of back where we were in terms of squad depth. January is a hard month. It is predominantly, we never really do much business. Obviously, you alluded to the fact Robbie Keane, but they're loan moves, Craig Bellamy, another loan move. Permanent ways, I don't think we've really come up trumps. It's, at the top of my head, nothing's coming to me. But I mean, I think it's vital. I think Postecoglou's he's hinting towards like when he talks to the media about transfers that he wants it done early, and he seems like the man to me. He will be pissed off if it's not done early because he knows the importance of it. But you made a great point. We can't just add for the sake of adding. It needs to be quality players who can make an instant impact in the starting 11, and also add to the current squad depth without letting much players leave, because it's a weighing thing, isn't it? You need to kind of weigh it up. Will Celtic do that? Well, we'll try and balance the books as we always do. It's kind of been, we'll have to wait and see. January's hard window, but hopefully we do come out stronger, and we'll be doing a few shows during January when the transfer business comes in as well.
I'm obviously encouraged by the sort of Carter Vicker rumours that are coming out again, that it seems that we want to try and do that in January, and then hopefully they're doing something similar with Jota, but like, for me, as much as it would be over the moon if you got if we got the deals done in January, over the moon, but I don't want them, I wouldn't class them as like extra players, because they're already in the door. You're just securing them.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't want, say you got the 3 Japanese boys and you done the 2 Jota, like you done the Jota and Carter Vickers. On paper, it looks a great window, but essentially it's just 3 extra players at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like, if they do them deals, there's already if the rumours are £12 million because it's 6 million for Vickers, 6 million for Jota, and then whatever the transfer fees amount up for the Japanese player. So
to be fair, it would probably be north of 15,000, which is a lot. You essentially couldn't ask for much, because that would almost be probably around about 30 million for the season, which is not the worst backing, to be fair, for a brand new manager. Obviously, you've got deals like Edward and Christie and things like that, and that are north of probably 30,000 if you tally them up, but 30 million.
30,000?
I know. Got robbed.
You're definitely still in Christmas mode there, Franny.
I know. I'm just going to stop talking.
No, but I do get what you mean, because you look at it, right, it's 2 extra bodies, but as players is already there. And for me, you need to add at least 2 more on top of that. But we will see come January, and obviously we'll be doing our own transfer shows when it comes to it. But look, that brings us to the end of the show. And just unfortunately, the way circumstances fell, there's no quiz, because it'll just be me bombarding you with questions. You'd be saying it was a Saturday, but it was Sunday.
I know. I'm out of the show.
Brilliant point. So for the people who are even listening and watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify and iTunes, we're going to be doing our end of year show. So we're bringing back the extravaganza. Every member will be involved in the podcast. I've planned it in my head. I've wrote it down and sent it to the boys, and they're all happy with it. So if it goes as good as it goes in my head, it'll be a fantastic show. But no, that's that. It'll be an absolute disaster, Franny. But
it's one to look forward anyway, so who cares?
Exactly. But it's one to look forward to, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, why did you ask my question when I was just taking a drink? You were like a waiter there that comes over when you're eating food. Is that good?
Done that on purpose.
But yeah, no, I'm really looking forward. It'll be a good wee change up. Obviously, with the winter break, there's maybe not really a lot of content to talk about, and it's be a good wee quick recap of the first 6 months of the season, and then just into a wee special treat. But what way that is, it could be special for all the wrong reasons.
Or if circumstances dictate, it'll be back to me and you again for the end of the year show, probably.
No, it should be all right. Hopefully it'll be a full squad. I think we'll have all the squad for it, but it's you'll either love it or hate it.
All the boys will be on, and as Franny said, we'll be enjoying a few sherbets, staying the year on a high, and just talk to you guys who've supported us and throughout this whole year. I mean, it's been mental with all the support we've had. It's increasing day by day viewership and subscribers. iTunes and Spotify's going well too. So we want to thank you again for that, and we do hope you had a very good Christmas. And until we speak again, which will be the end of year special, so look forward to it. Stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.